Welcome to Good Life. I'm Dean Wilson. I'm so glad you're with us. As always, we welcome you from wherever you are. If you're on the airwaves here in Santa Barbara, California, we welcome you at TV Santa Barbara. If you're joining us from all over the world at goodlifetelevision.org, we're so happy to have you. I think we're in about 105 countries at this point, all 50 states. We're glad you're with us. And finally, which I always forget about, you can find us on the podcast as well, which is Good Life Conversations. And I've noticed that more and more of you are finding us at Good Life Conversations. So if you want to work out or whatever, I don't know whatever you're doing, but if you want to listen to the podcast, we'd love to have you. And Good Life is about the good stuff. It's about what we dwell on. I think about that all the time. What we dwell on is so important. And there's actually a scripture about this. Whatever's excellent, praiseworthy, noble, think about these things. And so that's what that's what we're doing. We're dwelling on the good stuff, and we're dwelling with good people who are doing great stuff, who have, whether it's entrepreneurs or overcomers. We've had a couple of weeks ago, we had a young man battling cancer and just beating the daylights out of cancer, and his mom. I loved it. So we've had people from all walks of life, and it's just fantastic. So we're glad you're with us, and I am so excited. Every minute I think a new friendship is born. We have officially at this moment, we have the newest friendship in the world.
Yay!
Isn't that exciting? Mo and Katy. This is the Mo and Katy Show. This is Good Life Television, but it's also the Mo and Katy Show at this moment because we have the Mo and Katy Show with us here at Good Life. And I'm going to tell you, I want to talk. It's Mo Barrett and Katy Stevens. Yeah. These are very fascinating and funny and very interesting people. As I've been reading all about them, I spent part of my weekend doing this, and I was so excited. And actually, it's retired Colonel Mo Barrett. I want to start with you, Mo, because I want to talk a little bit about your background. Yeah, do I need to salute? I do have the flag.
No, we're good.
I do have the flag.
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah. But so let me just give a quick introduction. So Mo Barrett, as I mentioned, a retired colonel. She's the daughter of a World War II veteran and wanted to go this path toward the Air Force from an early age. She had some adventures that I want to ask her about, and a fascinating path that she's been on. She now speaks. She has the podcast, obviously, and does various other things. So Mo, it's great to have you. Katy Stevens. It's very interesting how kind of different you are, but then you become best friends, which we'll talk about that too. Katy Stevens has a passion for teaching music. Has been a private piano and voice instructor since 1989. You don't look old enough for that, but I'll leave that
take that, Dean. Thank you.
Yeah. Grew up in a musical family in Central Ohio. Been performing since the age of 3, and has been married to her husband Matt since August 1992. And I think I read somewhere in there that you went to Bible college, West Coast Bible College and Seminary.
Bachelor's from West Coast Bible College and Seminary. Yes.
Where is that?
So it's actually it's based out of West Coast, somewhere in California, but the base is actually in Texas. And our good friend, Dr. Kevin Harrison, is the one that heads that up. And,
wow.
So yeah, my husband and I both hold degrees from West Coast.
Wow. Well, I'm a pastor's kid, and my grandfather was an traveling evangelist. We probably have other stuff to talk about there too. But Mo, talk about growing up in this military family and the path that you were kind of looking at. I know, you weren't always like you didn't always have wind blown in your sails toward this, from what I read about some of your counselors or whatever, but you had a direction you wanted to go. Talk about that growing up.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks for doing the research. Now I know what my ears were burning this weekend. But yeah, so my dad was in World War II, and my brother was in the Air Force, and I always knew that I was going to be in the Air Force because, of course, it's the best service, and so that was no brainer. But I was actually decided to go to the Air Force Academy on a whim, because you know how high school students are. And I went and told my guidance counselor. I said, "Hey, I'm going to apply to the Air Force Academy," and he laughed at me. He was also the head football coach. I think the head football coach might have been his primary job now that I'm thinking back on it. But his guidance for me was that I should set my sights on community college. But I'm very, as Katy will tell you, I'm very stubborn and motivated by the word no. So I decided I was going to prove him wrong, and I did. It took me 2 years, but I did prove him wrong eventually. But and you know, ultimately, I got to where I wanted to be, which was in the Air Force in incapacity. And so you know, the life lesson I always take from it is that I think a lot of times we're told no, not because somebody actually knows that to be true or believes that to be true, but it's an easier answer. And I think yes is probably a harder word to deal with. And so just finding the way to the yes and saying yes to opportunities and working hard to get there.
Wow. And so what did it look like? What was your path? Kind of take us to maybe just tops of the waves, but kind of what was your path, your military path?
You're using a lot of nautical terms here. Waves and sails, Dean. I don't know.
It's all for you. It's just for you. That's how we roll here at Good Life.
Yeah. So I didn't get into the Air Force Academy. I went to a prep school for 6 months, and then community college for 6 months, and then went to the Air Force Academy. And then from there was selected to go to pilot training. So then went to pilot training, and then flew in South America for 2 years, and then around the globe out of Northern California, Travis Air Force Base for a few years. And then also did some air base setup. So going into fields and turning austere fields into a main base.
Wow. So how did you like it? Did you love it?
Loved it. Every second of it. I loved it. And the biggest thing about it is the people, it's the relationships. I don't miss the job necessarily. I miss flying, but really what I missed the most and what I got the most out of us with the people. And so that's why this is such a great connection, because I'm learning all this civilian speak and all these musical terms and all these things. But
I'm learning lots and lots of acronyms.
Sometimes I just make up acronyms just to see if she'll believe me. So far, so good. No, but I mean, you know, just like you talk about on this show, it's about the company you keep and finding those people and gravitating toward those people, regardless of what their backgrounds of life are. Right. It's gravitating toward people who believe in the same amount and power of positivity. And that's what we do. And we have fun doing it. And I mean, I think both of our respective spouses are like, just fine, go do your thing. Go have fun. But yeah, there's something to be said about the company you keep and yes. Finding those people who get you. And Katy, God love her, gets me.
Right. Finding your people.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed. Katy, tell us about your growing up. What would you tell us about your background?
Oh, he thinks you grew up. That's nice.
So I grew up in Ohio in a very musical family and grew up, I've been, like I said, literally singing in front of people since I was 3 years old. And my dad just retired as a church organist. He played for 64 years. He just retired this past year.
Oh my gosh.
So definitely grew up around music, singing for church, singing all the music groups at school, went on to be a vocal performance major in college and have been teaching. I was a performance major because I said I didn't want to be a teacher. And here I am all these years later, teaching is my bread and butter. It's what I do, but I love it. I love empowering students to find their voice. And we also, a lot of the things that Mo and I do, we talk about storytelling and teaching kids to be, you know, kids and adults and anyone who wants to learn to be performers and storytellers too. So yeah, so it's been a musical journey for me and a family journey for me. All of our sons are in their adulthood now, but it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. I love organists.
Yes, my dad can play with his feet. It's the coolest thing in the world. I can't do it.
Okay, so if I had him on the program and I asked him what is the one, if you got to play one hymn, what would it be? What would it be for him? Do you know?
Probably something like "How Great Thou Art," like something really classic.
I love "How Great Thou Art."
Yeah, he has a really beautiful version of it. He plays on the piano as well. He's very, very talented. I grew up very spoiled by having an accompanist all the time.
So he'd play in the house?
Yes, he would. And anything my sister and I had to do singing wise, he accompanied us. And I went off to college and I had to start paying accompanists. I'm like, what is this? I don't pay accompanists. I have an accompanist. So that was quite a shock. But,
I love that.
Yeah, plays beautifully.
Wow. How Great Thou Art is a great one.
It is.
Great is thy faithfulness. How great. There's a handful. I don't know why I'm kind of a throwback in terms of hymns. Like
absolutely,
the great hymns of the faith are fantastic to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes I feel like a fish out of water in the current times, but what else is new? Okay, so we'll just on the last thing you said, talking about storytelling. There's great power in story, and then this is something I've thought a fair amount about. Is just, in fact, when I started something in Dallas, Texas, in an apartment deal where we bought really distressed apartments and in really, really bad neighborhoods in Dallas, Texas for a while, and it's still going. When I was talking about it, we got the name. It's called Behind Every Door, and we got the name because I would always say when I'd walk around these 488 unit, just distressed apartment complexes in the absolute hood, and I would always say the same thing, which is there's a story behind every door, and when we learn the stories, we can relate, we can connect. But I feel like if you don't know the story, you don't really have a place to start. Are you guys on the same page about this? Like, because storytelling is huge, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely.
Actually, our speaker coach and our improv coach is in Santa Barbara. So we've actually been to Santa Barbara. So the storytelling school is who we get coached by as far as our speaking and our storytelling. So
really,
in fact, we were just there in January. Yeah, Kimberly Weil, and then also Alan Irwin from the Santa Barbara Improv Group, and then Mark Sylvester, who does very active in podcasts, all there in the Montecito, Santa Barbara area. So
we were
hoping to eventually actually just come out there and record live with you. But you know,
Kimberly Weil.
Yep.
Really?
You know her?
I don't know these people, but I need
all
to.
Right, yeah. Kimberly, Kymberlee. So Kimberly with a Y and a bunch of E's, and then Weil, Weil. But if you go to the storytelling school, that's her bread and butter, and she is phenomenal. She specializes in basically TED Talk type, short, high stakes short form speaking, but also does improv as well. So that's something that, again, you talk about finding your people and people that just make you feel like you're at home. And I also felt like a fish out of the water for nearly 30 years in the Air Force. And then I come to find these, we call them our tribe of weirdos. We find other weirdos who like the old school hymns and don't like the modern stuff.
Right.
Who get you. And it is like coming home, and it is just a life altering feeling to know that you have found somebody like that and you hold on to it for dear life. But going back to what you said about story, the one thing that Kimberly always talks about is that if you talk statistics and data, I think there's like two parts in your brain that line up. It's maybe like a half a part of a brain for me, but when you tell someone a story version, there's like 7 different parts of your brain that light up. So when you talk about behind every door, there's a story. It helps people connect, empathize, they can have compassion, and that's better. I mean, it's more memorable too. And you've helped, like you said, you help people connect. Yes. And that's because you have that story behind every door. So what a powerful title for a project that's so amazing and giving people such hope and just a lift up.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very nice of you to say.
No,
I'm going to give you my wife's email when we're done.
All right.
And you can tell her what a genius that I am. I had no idea.
You betcha.
That is amazing. These people are in Santa Barbara that you're working with. When are you coming back?
I don't know. You got to do free tomorrow?
Yeah. I'm on a plane right now. Yeah, we were just there, end of January. We're usually there every January, February. But
well,
yeah,
we got to get together when you come back.
Absolutely. Well, once I get your wife's email, I'll let her know. That's right.
Good. She'll join us. Well, there's well, let's get, we have to, before we run out of time, I don't want to run out of time, never talk about the podcast. So how did this happen? Because you don't, I mean, you're very very different, but you're the same people. So how did you guys get together to do this podcast?
So one other interesting fact about us is that we are actually half of a women's barbershop quartet. So a lot of people know us as podcast hosts, trivia hosts, but we're actually, there's two others because it's a quartet and there's 4 people, but we are actually half of a barbershop quartet. And we actually met at an event called Women's Harmony Brigade. We lovingly describe it as speed dating for barbershop, because what you literally do is you learn whatever part it is you sing, and then you show up and there's like 100 women there. Everyone's wearing a different colored lanyard to kind of tag which part you sing. And you just keep grouping up with people in 4s and singing all these songs that you've learned. So Mo and I ended up singing together a little bit. We'd never met each other before. And then we were actually, we're both slight extroverts, maybe just a little tiny bit, but we were both invited to go hang out.
Was that sarcasm? I don't know if that just translated, but yeah.
But we were both invited to hang out with like some new friends, and in their room, you know, like you do when you're at conventions and things like that. And in that, Mo was just delivering some very like clever, punny, borderline snarky lines, and the rest of the room wasn't picking it up. And I'm sitting across the room going, oh my gosh, she's funny. I get her. And so then we joined the quartet together. We used to sit around during our quartet weekends and banter and say things we thought were funny.
Drive the other 2 crazy.
And I told her about a year before we started, I kept saying, we need to start a podcast. We just need to, and actually it was on the flight home from Santa Barbara one year,
2020,
it was 2020, that we made all the notes and plans, and we started the podcast we started the podcast in March of 2020. So
you were out in Santa Barbara talking to these folks about what then? Before
at the time we were in Santa Barbara, I was getting coached and I was able to bring a +1. So Katy was my +1 because we're both storytellers. And we had been thinking about this podcast and dual storytelling. So we both went out to the storytelling. At the time it was called Road to Red Carpet. So basically the steps to get into a TEDx type short form, high stakes. But it was a storytelling boot camp on the weekend. And so we went out to that, and
there was some talk about podcasting while we were there. And we were just taking notes like, it's time, we need to do this. So we came home and launched the Mo and Katy Show. And we've stuck with our format.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
2+ years ago. And we have stuck with our original format. And we've made, you know, gratitude, humor, and positivity are our tenets. We've been very intentional. You know, we launched it during a very different time during the pandemic, but we make a point not to really talk about that. We just want to give people long-lasting momentary distraction, make them laugh, make them, you know, just think a little bit. And it's been really, really a fun journey.
That's so great. So what can people like, just what can people expect? I mean, what, or is there an answer to that?
The unexpected.
So we like to create words. We call it randiculousness. So random ridiculousness. But what we do every day, every week is we have, I come in with a positive news story, and then she comes in with a positive news story. And the one thing is we come into the show blind, in that she doesn't know what story I'm going to do, and I don't know what story she's going to do, but 2 positive news stories, which we call What's Going On in the World. Mm-hmm. And again, focusing on the positives and the things that people are doing to lift up their communities. And then Katy does a quirky fact, which
Mo pretends to not like my quirky facts, but she secretly loves them. So
that's more sarcasm. And then the one thing I always found is that there's always some weird holiday, right? So there's like, you know, I think this coming Friday is National Crouton Day.
Happy National Crouton Day.
Yeah. But so we always talk about the weird holiday. And then we talk about a shared experience, whether it's backstage rituals or superstitions,
what books we're reading,
yeah,
like toys we loved from the 80s. Like we just find something that we can talk commonly on.
There's a fly in here.
We can talk commonly on, and we just talk. We always, you know, do a call to action to the audience to share with us their prom pictures.
Yeah, I just gonna say we got some weird prom pictures, and then we usually play a game.
Sometimes we play a game. We play random games.
Yeah, but we've stuck with the format, and again, it's always going back to gratitude, humor, and positivity, and
we always close with a gratitude quote. So it's something that directly corresponds to that, and then we say goodbye. So that's our format, and we've pretty much stuck to it since day one. And it has just been, I always say it's the thing I always wanted to do, and I didn't even know it, because it's just been so fulfilling, and honestly, much of a saving grace during the last 2 years that we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you both speak, or Mo, do you just speak? Do you both speak?
I sometimes let Katy speak, but yeah, for the most part. So when I left the Air Force, I'm also a DC tour guide, but primarily what I'm doing now is speaking and writing. But yeah, Katy and I have done a lot of co-storytelling. We host trivia every Thursday night, which has been another thing that I didn't know that I would love doing. I didn't even know it was a thing, but we do that every week, and that's been a blast.
And we've done some we've done some panel moderation, we've done some emceeing, and taught some workshops. All of course online for the last couple of years. But so just really expanding. Like I said, my kids are all older now. My youngest son is going to be 21 later this month, so I'm definitely looking at my parenting responsibilities differently, and it's fun to launch into this. And Mo's recently retired, so we're both kind of launching into the second act at the same time, and we've been kind of seeing what that looks like with our brand, but with each of us individually as well.
So I'm trying to get this straight. So you guys are very interesting. I mean, we have so far, let's just kind of reset here. Let's go over what we've covered. Katy retired, so music, longtime music, dad's an organist for 65 years. You're in a barbershop quartet. Mo's a retired colonel who does TEDx talks. Mm-hmm. You host trivia, you're MCs, you have a podcast. And you seem to just be very lovable, fuzzy, warm people. Am I getting all this right?
Up until the warm, fuzzy part, that's just me. So, yeah.
So primarily, Mo, you, in terms of if one of you is going to give a TEDx talk, Mo, is it more you?
It is, but Katy will know the speech better than I do. She reads all the versions of my speeches. She has heard it probably more than anybody else, but yeah.
So what is the speech? What's your A speech? What would, just give me the 30-second elevator speech.
My primary speech is probably Fight for Centerline, where I talk about, flying to the different center lines of the different roles we have in life. So I would say fight for centerline is the primary thing, and just kind of the things that you do dealing with the crosswinds of life that blow you on and off course, and how to leverage those and counteract them.
So how to deal, can I summarize that as like adversity, opposition, because I know you faced, from what I read, it seems like you faced some opposition, some headwinds.
Yeah, a little bit.
So part of it is dealing with that.
Yep. But it's also leveraging the positive things we have. So sometimes a headwind is a good thing, or a tailwind can be a bad thing. Like some of the things that we sometimes see as negatives can be positives. And it's about seeing what really are negatives and positives, and how to leverage the good things and how to counteract the bad. And I think, and again, just like you talked about on this show, it's finding the people that can help you speed up during a headwind, or sometimes slow down during a tailwind, and can help you just course correct when you need that nudge. And it's all about the crew concept. I flew a plane that had, 17 other people on the crew, and every single person has an important job, just like in life. Who you choose as your crew makes a difference. So what do they say? You're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, or I just hang out with one, so it really warps the math. But,
now you got me thinking about who I'm hanging out with. No, that's so good. And the only way out sometimes in suffering, and I mean, I always think sometimes the only way out sometimes is through, and conquering, not in spite of. I'm not trying to preach at you, but can I talk for a second? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
It's my program. But I mean,
you do it. You go.
Do what you want.
But I mean, it's something I think, conquering not in spite of this, but through it, sometimes I think the only way out is through. We want to avoid difficulty, suffering, problems, opposite, but sometimes I think you're so right that headwind can take me higher. I mean, anyway, sorry, that was just brought to you by Good Life Television.
Yeah.
Just a brief little message.
Well, I'll tell you another real quick, Dean, another good message just to give props to Katy. Like there are times when as bubbly and effervescent as we both seem, we have our down moments. I mean, we all do, right? We're all human. And there have been times when, like early on in our friendship, where I'd be like, I can't talk to you today. I'm just in a crappy mood or whatever. And she goes, that's okay. She goes, I will crawl down in the pit and I will sit in the muck with you until you're ready to come out. And I'm like, oh, well, cool. Come on in, but again, it's somebody who will, it's not just when it's good.
Yes.
It's like any friendship or relationship or marriage or any of those kind of things that you got to sit with somebody in the crud of it all,
Yes.
and he's going to be with you when it's bad as well as when it's good. So
Mo is very good at doing that too. She's very good at. Matter of fact, when the pandemic started, our oldest son was actually in the middle of cancer treatment at the time. And so just to go through that, along with he was diagnosed with lymphoma in September of 19, and just to walk through that. And I mean, it's really tough, dark days. And thankfully, he's doing really well now. He's been in remission for almost a year and a half. But just even like, Mo and other friends would just bring us like practical things, or just be there. Or it's amazing. Like, it's amazing how we're surrounded with the tribe of people that we need in order to, just like you said, Dean, in order to go through it, because there was no way around that. We had to go through it.
Right.
So.
I don't know how people do it alone.
I know.
I mean, in my case, I don't know how people do it without faith, but I also think, but part of that is community. I don't know how people do it alone. I don't know how you get out of bed. My wife, I mean, just in terms of my life, I mean, just, the life is just tough. I mean, it is not getting better out there. It's so tough. I read something, Mo, in your bio that I loved. The legacy I want to leave behind is that I loved others well. I thought, what a great, and I don't know if you call that an ambition, but I mean, what a wonderful perspective or goal. But talk about that for a second. We only have a couple minutes left.
Sure. Honestly, invite others. Well, first of all, I think a lot of people say, I love you all the time. And I actually mean it. But by others, I mean, whether it's a friendship, whether it's somebody you're passing on the street, or now in this other life, whether it's my audience, I want to be respectful of them, and I want to treat them like they deserve to be treated. So when I say I want to love others well, others can mean anything, absolutely anything. A random interaction, passerby, deep friendships, family relationships, whether they're strained or not, or people I'm speaking to. But yeah. We kind of do have, my wife always talks about this. We kind of do have circles, it seems like, of friendship. We have kind of the people who we let in deep, core, but we kind of, but these days it's just like, people in our society, you don't want to love people that are different from you. That's 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 so terrible about the direction it seems like been going down. That, I think it's in the scripture. If it's not, maybe it should be. But about if you just love people that love you, everybody does that. But loving people that are different than us is such a high calling and wonderful ambition. So I love that, though, about what you said. Thank you.
We find you at, if people just look under the Mo and Katy Show, they're going to find you on every podcast platform, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And the way that we say it is Mo with no E and Katy with a Y. So that's kind of the trick to finding.
Mo and Katy, the Mo and Katy podcast.
We're on all of the platforms. We have a Facebook page that we base things out of too, and we're working on getting things on. Will be hosted on Mo's website, but we're going to have some Mo and Katy Show stuff on her site.
What is your site? What is your site, Mo?
I'm at Mo Barrett, so MoBarrett.com.
MoBarrett.com. This is like inspiring me.
This is fun.
I'm really inspired. Seriously, I'm really inspired by you guys. This is incredible. I love it. I love what you're doing. You're just doing stuff, and you're doing stuff with passion and meaning. And when you do something together, there's such power.
Yes.
There's so much, and it's just exactly what you described, Mo, because when you have that crappy day and you're in the dungeon of death, you have somebody to call. And that's another thing it says in scripture. When one falls, he has somebody to help him up.
Absolutely.
That's why the 2 and then the 3, like the cord is stronger. And so you guys doing this together is also, like, a lot of people will tune in. I bet a lot of people are going to listen to you guys because of the friendship, the banter, the connection. Like, that's almost more appealing and exciting than anything you say.
Which is, yeah. That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Ridiculous too, so that's good to know.
The ridiculousness too, but I mean the together part.
Yeah.
Is people are attracted when they see people loving each other. People are drawn to that. So I could be your promoter if you want. I'm free. There's no charge.
All right. We will double your pay then.
Done. Mo and Katy podcast, Mo and Katy Show. I'm a huge fan. We just met, but we're friends. It's a done deal. It's just perfect. Thrilled. Perfect. You guys are great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything you're doing with this show and just spreading the positivity. We
love everything you promote: the friendship, kindness, values, just adventure, service, joy, all of the things you promote. We just love that. In the world, I mean, we have enough things to be, enough things to focus on that are negative. It's just so much better for us to focus on the positive, and it's easy to do if you just look for it. So thank you for all that you promote on your program and website and everything.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you. Great to meet you. Awesome.
Me too. We'll let you know.
I'll be listening, and I'll pass it on to my wife. My wife is a huge podcast person with have you heard of the Office ladies?
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge Office fan.
Oh, you are. See, this is meant to be. You're talking to one of the biggest Office fans in history. And my wife listens to the Office ladies. And she just loves this thing. And there's another example. It's not just about The Office. It's Angela and
Jenna, the friends.
I'll call her Pam. Angela and Pam. It's their friend. It's their real life friends. Their real life best friends. Like, people listening just because that's so cool,
Yep. Oh, okay, that's great.
We have to wrap.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. And we will see you all next time.
All right. Thank you.